Howdy, Ken. How you doing today?
Good, Professor. How about you?
Well, I'm doing okay, except for if you're on the YouTube channel, you already see the band-aid on my lip. If you're on the podcast, you don't see it, but my lip is swollen. So if I'm not my normal enunciating self, you know why. Because I had a biopsy the other day and
Hmm.
gonna have to have some skin cancer removed. But other than that, I'm doing okay. And let me tell you, it really is the conversation that we're having today because there's so many variables around everything that occurs in your life to move you forward to where you need or want to be, right? So the question that I want to ask you today is niche site versus authority site. Which one should you choose? And I want to caveat it with it by saying, don't end the podcast early today by saying it depends.
Well, then I'm going to start it off by saying it depends. It depends. I think we can't paint this picture with a broad stroke. We've got to kind of people themselves have to make that decision. When you first start off, is what is the end goal of what you're doing? I think that's what you need to decide. I personally, that's how I feel. I don't know how you feel about that.
I would say I feel that it does depend,
Yeah,
right?
it does, right?
There's no way of getting around it, And if that ended the podcast for you today, then it just did because hello, right?
Yeah.
What's that knocking at the door? That's reality,
Yeah, it is.
right? The
It is.
affiliate files. The truth about making money online is it depends. It depends on so many factors and so many variables.
Yeah.
But to really get to the heart of the matter, and we've talked about this here on the podcast numerous times, you need to define what a niche site is. You need
Mhm.
to define what an authority site is, what it means to you, and then you need to define what your end goal is. What are you trying to get from that?
Mhm.
After you define the niche site or the authority site, what is your end goal of using that site? What are you using it for? Right? What type of content are you going to put on it?
Mhm.
What type of audience are you building with either one of those sites?
Yeah. And I'm wondering maybe if our viewers and listeners would appreciate, I guess, the different scenarios, right? Maybe we present some scenarios that would lead to one or the other. But in my opinion, they're both the same because of the content that you add into those sites. Because if we're talking about a niche site, let's say we're talking about let's use the whole vegan dog thing, right? We've been using vegan dogs, and we just love vegan dogs. We need to start up a blog about vegan dogs as a case study for the affiliate files. I think that would be wonderful.
I got to find a vegan dog first, but
I know.
I digress.
They might exist, but you know when you first start off, you may as a niche site, you may talk about certain aspects of that vegan dog, and you may produce video reviews, or not video reviews, I should say reviews on your blog about certain types of food that you could feed them, or dog collars, or whatever it is, maybe vegan shampoo for your dog because you want your dog to have vegan shampoo when they take a bath. But through just the fact that you're positioning yourself and talking about those different types of products, your tone could determine whether or not it's a niche or an authority site. Because if you're just being just the mediator between connecting the traffic that you're attracting and the products that you are promoting, and let's say you come up with a list and you don't rank them in order of which one is the best, maybe you do it by most expensive to least expensive, then to me, by default, you are becoming an authority in that sense, in a small way. If you list it as your best, your favorites, or the one that's highly recommended versus the one that's the least recommended based off of certain factors that you're using when you're writing your review post, that to me lends itself to being an authority, right? Because now you're exposing people to your opinion as to which one is the better one, and by basing off of that, people are gonna build up trust with you, right? So I think when we say depends, gosh, we're gonna be saying that a lot, And I hope you guys, you can probably make it into some kind of drinking game. But every time they say it depends, you take a shot. But it really does. It really does. You can't just paint it with a broad brush.
Well, I think that, go back to the definition. So if I'm going to start a niche site, most likely it's going to be around one topic, right? So that topic that I'm talking about on my niche site. But then you say, okay, inside of that niche, obviously you want to be an authority in the niche,
Mhm.
but that's a different definition of the word authority.
Yeah.
You just want people to understand and know that you know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
an authority on the subject or topic that niche site is talking about.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this backstage, and I used a few examples, and I don't remember the exact examples. So the idea, though, was apples, oranges, and bananas are all fruits, but they're different fruits. So you're going to talk about different types of things with them and how you use them. But if you were talking about vegan dogs, iPods, and the best running shoe, can you interconnect those? Well, yeah, you can, right? But it's a little bit of a stretch because you're a vegan dog owner that runs with your vegan dog and you listen to your iPod when you run with your dog, right? But that's a long-term vision to get there, right? As an authority in that space, right? And it's a couple different niches, right, all together and all around, right? So, it's a bit of a stretch to say that you could connect those into an authority site. So when you're thinking about what you're creating, go all in on that topic in that niche and create that site. But then
Mhm.
what type of content are you creating? And a lot of times when people think of a niche site, sometimes they may think it's just a review site where you're
Mhm.
just reviewing products, or the quote unquote, that's the air quotes for the podcasters, the quote unquote affiliate niche site or affiliate review site for Amazon,
Mhm.
which is product reviews,
Yeah.
like you were talking about, where
Yeah.
you're literally ranking and you're doing a pros and a cons. And then people are finding that via search because the searcher intent or the problem they're looking up on Google or Bing or on a search engine is to get the solution. And the solution is that product, whether they know about the product or don't know about the product. So they may type in a search query and they don't know about the product, but that brings them to their site. And then you have 5 products that you review that solve the problem and you do pros and cons.
Mhm.
Does that mean that they'll come back to your site for other products? It depends.
Depends. Yeah. It does. It does. It's interesting because I use the example of, and you guys might be familiar with um, blog websites like the Wirecutter or Tom's Guide, and I ventured onto the Wirecutter years ago before they got bought out by New York Times, and they would do these thorough reviews on all kinds of products, and most of the time I would go on there just for like electronic stuff, best, I don't know, headphones or best, microphone or whatever it is that I was looking for. But once I subscribed to their newsletter, that's when I started realizing that okay, so they're also trying to establish themselves as an authority in multiple niches. Like they would write, articles on how to clean, how to get stains out of your off of your clothes, like food stains, and they were trying to establish themselves as this place for you to go, not only to find the best reviews for the products and things that they recommend, but also to get just helpful information, how to's, how to do this, how to do that. And just by having been associated as a newsletter subscriber, I started realizing, oh, these guys, they're establishing themselves, trying to establish. And same thing with Tom's Guide, they do the exact same thing, and it's super competitive, obviously. But they've managed to build themselves up into these mega review sites that review practically everything, but make recommendations based off of doing thorough testing and all this kinds of stuff. So are they an authority site or are they a niche site? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it depends. And more than it depends, I think it blurs. So let's say you have a podcast blog and
Hmm.
all you do is talk about podcasting.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of aspects of podcasting, but there are also aspects that you may not think of. So you have a blog site and you're talking about podcasting. Well, part of that might be you have a bad back or something and you need to stand up. So you need a standing desk
Hmm.
or you use a kneeling chair, right? to take the pressure off your back, your knees, your hips, whatever. So you incorporate that into your podcasting site, because as a podcaster, you have these health problems, but it's only a niche site. It's only about podcasting. But then again, you're the authority in podcasting.
Mhm.
But if you flip that and say, as an entrepreneur, part of your, part of the way you get your message out, part of your traffic is having a podcast. So then on your authority site as an entrepreneur, you have this article, and it's about using a standing desk while you're doing podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
So you blurred the lines there.
Yeah.
So don't put yourself in a corner, right? Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah.
Nobody.
And you guys should know that reference. Hopefully you guys do.
So nobody puts baby in a corner. So don't put yourself in a corner by, saying I'm only a niche site or I'm only an authority site, but also don't overextend yourself from the jump, from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why it's important to understand what you want to get out of it. Now, where you end up is a totally different story. And we talk about affiliate marketing as being a journey, because it really is a journey. I used to think, like, what do people call it a journey for? Like, oh, how are you doing on your journey? Like what is this? Like, am I like, right. I didn't know what it was, but
where's my money? We talking about journey.
Yeah. I'd be like, I'm just here to make money. That's what I want to do. I want to make money. But the process of getting there, it really is a journey. And you start off, just because you start off saying I'm gonna be doing X, doesn't mean you're gonna end up doing X. I mean, you go through all different phases and different routes, and it's just that evolution. You can't just put people in a box. Really, it's the evolution of what you're gonna go through when you continue experimenting, producing content, and the like. I mean, that's what I love about it, and that's why what the professor's saying makes so much sense. Is that really, you can't just say, like, I'm just going to be doing X, because you just never know. you gotta be able to adapt. You got to be able to, and we talked about this backstage. You got to be checking out the trends. You got to see what's coming up, because sometimes you want to ride that wave of the next trend that's coming out in podcasting. Maybe you're going to be using AI in podcasting or whatever it is, but you need to be on top of that and be flexible. And maybe it's something that's related. And that's why we say it depends all the time, but it's almost like, I almost feel like I'm in the Matrix. It's like red pill, blue pill. You choose, right? And you just go down that rabbit hole, because you can take your blog in any direction that you want. Really, that's why I love the flexibility of what we do in terms of affiliate marketing.
So you have to get started with the content. I would say at the beginning, not so much the niche site versus authority site, but staying on topic.
Yeah.
One topic and one type of content until you find a rhythm, until you get better at it.
Yeah.
And the reason I say find a rhythm and get better at it, because that's how you feed the algorithms out there. And at the end of the day, that's the game.
It is the game.
That's the game, right? Feeding the algorithm. When we're talking about these types of sites, because we're talking about using quote unquote free traffic, right?
Yep.
So getting found in the search engines,
yep.
Having that content out there that ranks, that's good, right? And you finding your rhythm and getting better at it means that when someone finds your site, they see it, they click on it, they read it, or they don't read it. Right? If they click on it and read it, those are good signals. That makes you rank. That means you make more money.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the day, of course, now once your content gets in your content and you start, have the ability to create call to actions and sort of steer people from your content, which helps them solve the problem, over to the affiliate offer, you'll get better at that as well.
Yeah.
And that'll also help define whether you're a niche site or an authority site. Is a type of content that you get good at or get better at.
Yep.
Right? So you get good at one type of content and you get better at it. And you become that niche site that is just doing reviews.
Yep.
So your niche at that point is the problem and the solution that you have for a specific audience. Your niche is doing really, really good reviews, really hard hitting pros and cons. So people know 1000% when they click the buy button, this is the product for them, and they trust it, they believe it, and you've never let them down.
Yeah.
Right. So, but again, at the end of the day, you become an authority.
Yep. Yep.
But you definitely have to stop and think that Don't buy into the hype about passive income. Don't believe anybody out there selling you a course saying you're going to set up one funnel, one blog post, or one blog, and you're going to be done forever. Passive income for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos was sitting in a corner creating a bookstore online. Does he still sell books? Yeah, he does. But he sells a
Millions
bunch
of
of
them.
other stuff too, right?
And it's true though. I mean, what you said, starting off small, producing that content and staying consistent with your original intent, right? And we talk about, Gary talked about the feeding the algorithm, and both of us have YouTube channels, and when we see others start off creating YouTube channels, nothing pains us more when they can't stay on topic and they go all over the place. They make one video here and they make a different video here and a different topic, and they just go all over the place. And having experience now, when we look back, it's all about, you know one thing that we tell people is you got to make X amount of videos on topic in order for YouTube to understand what your channel is all about to begin with, so that they can understand what type of audience they're going to be serving your content to. Same goes, since Google owns YouTube. Same goes with Google, right? I mean, you got to stay on point if you're going to be focused on, kitchen appliances, and specifically, let's say blenders, food processors, or whatever. Stay on point, stay within that area, so that YouTube, or not YouTube, Google can build up that profile and understand what your site is all about. If you start doing one on, on kitchen appliances, and the next thing you know, you're talking about cars, or you're talking about social media another day, you're never going to build with that profile. They're not going to know what you do, and it's going to be very hard for you to start ranking for different types of keywords and the whole lot. So being patient is like the key to doing it. Being consistent is the key. Being disciplined enough to know that you're going to be producing this content. No one knows who you are in the beginning. No one will know who you are. So don't be afraid to publish content. Just publish it, because all you're going to do is you're going to get better and better and better at it. And you can always come back. And the beauty of having a blog is you can always come back and you can improve upon the existing content that you already put out there. That to me is the key. You hit the nail on the head when you said stay small, start small, and start building up that kind of, like, I call it a profile of some sort with Google. Same thing with YouTube.
Yeah. So if you focus on one thing, and inside of Google, they like to call it EAT, right? It's like it's their authority, and it's the way they build sort of a profile around you, like you said,
Yeah.
and they build that trust.
Yeah.
So you start with a topic on a niche site, and then you earn your authority based upon the body of work that you put together. And when I say body of work, I mean you have to look at a blog. Of course, it depends, but I would be willing to say and bet right now that any topic that you pick, you're going to have to create 100 to 200 blog posts before you really see some traction.
Yeah.
Now, how long it takes you to create a blog post, a quality blog post that ranks in the long term because it actually solves the problem, the searcher, the person look for the answer, it solves their problem, satisfies the searcher intent. Really understand that, the quality of it. So if it takes you 3 days to create that blog post, if it takes you 3 weeks, that's probably a problem. But you have to get it down to where you can create more and more content.
Yep.
At the end of the day, what we're talking about here, when you decide to become an affiliate marketer, and the truth about making money online as an affiliate marketer, when you decide to use websites or YouTube channels, any place where you're creating content, you become a media company. And the business of a media company is creating content, and it's producing content at a high level, both quality and quantity. Now, you're not going to start at either one, right? When you first start, your quality is going to be low,
Yep.
your quantity is going to be low, but your intent has to be to ramp all of that up as far and as fast as you can, either by yourself, doing it yourself with your time, or using your money to go get somebody to do it for you, but still understanding that you've defined it clearly to yourself, niche site, authority site. I'm talking about one thing. My
Yep.
focus is this topic
Yep.
in this niche, right? But leaving yourself some wiggle room again,
Yep.
because going back to that example that Ken talked about, if you're talking about vegan dogs, that don't mean that you can't have number one pet site.com, right? Petauthority.com. That's probably already a thing.
Yep.
But you're the pet authority. But if you try to, like Ken said, if you try to talk about parakeets today, cats tomorrow, dogs the next day, lizards the next day, and every other day you create a blog post on a different type of animal, you're never going to become the authority on pets because you've never become the authority on one type of pet.
Yes. Yeah, and I love the term that you spoke of earlier, the body of your work. It does. Here's the rub, right? When you do this, everyone thinks that they're going to post someone, and I'm guilty of this myself. I post one blog post, and I'm like, "Where's the traffic? Where is the traffic?" And the next thing you know, I start losing focus. I start writing articles based on keywords that I think I can rank for. But the key is with these keywords is that you have to be consistent in the content that you produce for that specific niche. So stick with it and keep producing it because you're going to get better at it. That's the whole thing, is that the only way you get better is by doing it. If you're waiting back and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna write the perfect article." By the way, there is no such thing as a perfect article. Because everyone's got their opinion on what that is. But what you need to do is really just focus on providing as much value as you can, answering the search intent query and going above and beyond, doing more than what they've been asking, because that is how indirectly you are going to establish your authority as well. And if you continuously produce content for, let's say, baby alpacas instead of vegan dogs, and you go with baby alpacas, and you're just loading up on the content, you're covering anything and everything about baby alpacas, you're going to start ranking for that stuff because now you've built up that profile with Google. They're going to start adding that your content into the search engine results, and from there you can start slowly finding related animal topics that you can start branching out and start slowly expanding. But you're going to focus on one, and you're going to build out that one as well, and you're going to focus. I mean, it's just one of those things where I think people think that by scattering, doing the spray and pray approach, that they're going to find success. That's not the case. You've got to be really focused on that one thing, and just put that time and effort. Just know that no one's going to see you in the beginning, so you should have nothing to fear, other than the fact that you're not producing anything. Because if you're not producing anything, how are you going to get found,
Yeah.
right?
And better content doesn't mean just more words either.
Yeah.
Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
To thinking that your content has to be longer or bigger than the other posts, or like word count and all that kind of stuff. It's proven in 2022 when we're recording this podcast that Google, they understand. They have things like Google snippets where they literally will take, snippets, small chunks of your content, and they'll put it right into Google so people can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So literally you can rank first, or that 0 position for that Google snippet inside of the SERP, but your blog post is way down in like number 6 or something.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
but it's because that one piece of your content is so valuable that Google pulled it out and put it right on the homepage.
Yep.
So you're still going to roundabout some way get that type of traffic, because at the end of the day, keyword research is all about, when you first start off, there is some sort of thought process here of finding low competition,
Mm-hmm.
but also understand that with low competition comes low volume of traffic.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's who you are. You are the guy, right, that is okay with selling that one widget a day, because you have the best widgets, and someday you're going to be the king of widgets.
Yeah.
But you got to sell the first one.
Yeah.
You got to. If nobody ever buys the first one, you're never going to be the king of widgets.
Yeah. You just got to start. You just got to start somewhere. That's it. You got to start somewhere, and you got to start your journey, and you just got to stay focused and just do it. I mean, it sounds so cliche when we talk about this stuff, but man, it is reality. And that's the reason why, like Backstage, if you guys aren't subscribed to Backstage, you guys should, because I mean, we talk about, and I mentioned this, I said, everyone, we all have our ideas of how this whole affiliate marketing things work. Everyone does. They have their opinions on it. But unless you're actually doing it, you and experience this, you really don't know. And there's so many variables out there. It's just crazy how many variables pop into your business that you weren't completely aware of. And that's the reason why, for us, having backstage is kind of a reflection of the things that we experience. That's why we started it.
Yeah. Because you know what they say about opinions, right? Everybody's got one. Everybody's got one.
Get your guys' minds out of the gutter.
So, niche site versus authority site, which one should you choose? First, go back to what we just talked about at the very beginning. Define a niche site, define an authority site, what it means to you. Then focus, pick a topic, create that niche site, understanding that it can grow into an authority and that you will need to become an authority in that niche. Whether or not your niche site ever grows out of the niche stage into an authority site, you still require authority on that niche site, right? But don't get too caught up in all this, right? Because Amazon was a river in a jungle before it was, right, the biggest online retailer in the world.
Yep.
So it depends. There's wiggle room. You can always change because guess what? You are going to learn so much more from creating and failing than you will from sitting around thinking about you're going to fail and never have created a single thing.
Yep. Wise words. I almost feel like we have to end everything with that because that was like the mic drop moment.
It was, but I can't drop my mic because it was too expensive. That's what has this cool stand. All right. So with that, I hope that helped and you got more out of it than what we started with. It depends, but
Depends.
the truth about making money online and the affiliate files is it depends. It's up to you. You can get guidance and you should get guidance. If you can't make a decision, hire somebody to make a decision for you.
Yeah.
And just go with it. Of course, we talk about taking action online. We talk about the community, and right now, a lot of that is going on inside the community, a lot of it, where people are having to, they're in that corner and they're having to make these decisions. And that's what we're in the community for, just to give them a push and say, look, you've already made your decision. That's why you keep coming back to the same topic.
Yep.
So now is the time to just start creating that content. And even if you do it for a year, because you will need to do it for a year, to see if it's successful or not. It's just the reality.
Yep.
And if you can do it for a year, the next time, and there will be a next time you start a new project, the next project, because every project that you create is not going to be a winner, but the next time is going to be that much better. It's going to be that much quicker and everything is going to be so much better. And your journey is just going to be so more fruitful and you're going to get a lot more out of it.
Yeah. Man.
And with that, he is Ken Furukawa. I'm Gary Baker. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.